Hello, I'm Jennifer Spencer with Spencer Properties, and this is Mark Coleman, who we have on our team as our in-house research expert. So just recently we ran across an issue with impervious surface, and Mark, like he typically does, dug into this issue, and we thought it was important to share with you what he learned. So Mark, let's start with share with our viewers what this issue is with impervious surface.
So the issue typically comes up when a buyer during their due diligence process has a survey performed, and the surveyor might flag that the allowable impervious surface has been exceeded. And that's typically because possibly they've done some kind of hardscape, adding a patio or driveways or things that rain can't penetrate. And it all deals with watershed protection. And when these developments are developed, there's limits on how the runoff is to be handled.
So impervious surface limitations would only come up if you're in the watershed area, correct?
Mostly, yes,
Okay.
but the laws came into effect in the early 2000s, and there's different jurisdictions. You have Wake County, if you're outside city limits, and then of course the city of limits would be handled by the city of Raleigh as far as the stormwater departments. So there's different jurisdictions involved, but the rules are pretty much all the same. And typically, if you look down on your property, usually you can say, you look at your lot size, look down on it with Google Map or Google Earth, or if you see typically more than 30% of hardscape, and that includes the roof line, driveways, sidewalks, anything that water can't penetrate, you might have a problem. So if you're going to do anything, you might want to make sure that you investigate whether you are possibly going to exceed your allowable limit.
Okay. So would a deck or a screen porch be considered impervious surface?
A deck with a roof would be, or a screen porch with a roof would. A deck, it depends on what's underneath it. If it's packed gravel, it can be considered, impervious. It just depends on what's underneath the deck. And there's percentages and different allowances depending on the type of building material that's used.
And what about a pool?
A pool catches the water, so it's not considered impervious, but any walkways around the pool would be, of course, impervious.
All right. So how often does this come up as a concern or an issue?
It doesn't come up very often, but it has come up several times. In fact, just within the past month, it's come up twice. So if you're in a watershed area, and that could be, the Neuse River, it could be Haw River, it could be Swift Creek, there's all kinds of watersheds. If you look at this area of North Carolina map, everything's feeding out toward the ocean. So there's watersheds that are not necessarily the main rivers, but even some of the tributaries. So it can come up, and it's being enforced more and more because of the emphasis on wanting to protect the water quality.
So if you are at or over the impervious surface limit, how does that affect you?
Well, it could affect title, so it's probably going to have to be resolved, prior to closing. And that could be things like there's workarounds where you could possibly put a water garden in, depending on how much, maybe even removing what was put in. It's just something that's going to have to be resolved. It's better to get it taken care of and know what you can do before you actually do it.
Mm-hmm. Could it also affect your ability to get a permit to add on to the house or whatnot?
Yes, if there's anything that's going to affect the actual square footage of how rain is going to be handled as it comes down, it could definitely affect the permitting process. Right. And the stormwater divisions of City of Raleigh and Wake County is a perfect place to go for more information. And if you have questions, they work for us, so ask them.
Okay. So that kind of leads me to our last point here. If our clients have questions on their particular property, what the limitations are, if they are at or above the limit for impervious surface, what should they do? Where should they go to get more information?
Well, if they know how to do public record search, then the best thing to do would be to search out the information on your property in the public records, and the plat that your lot is probably part of might have a table or a chart right on the plat that says, here's the limits. If you need any more help, you could always contact us. We could help you search. And of course, if you've got a big building project planned, of course, the survey would be the way to go.
So I think that's good advice, Mark. If you are going to sell your property, buy a property, if you're considering adding on to the property, a survey would be important. It would be good to either do a public record search or contact us, and we'll get you the information you need. We can point you in the right direction, or we can look it up for you. We're happy to help you with this because we know this is kind of a difficult thing to ascertain, because your house may have impervious surface limitations and your next door neighbors may not. So we can kind of help you sift through that information. If you need any help from us, please call us at 919-602-7411.